Today is Friday, July 10th, and I believe that's the 52nd day of our trip. We're just leaving Sonora Pass Trailhead or something, which is where we stayed the night. So today we got a bit of a late start. We slept in a bit, then I decided to do a resupply and stuff. And we're also hiking with Willow again for the first time, and Jerica thought it was like 10 days. I think it might be a bit longer than that, like maybe 10 or 14 days. So today we're probably only gonna go like 15 or 20 miles. Part of that might be for the dog, and part of it is just we have a later start, so might make fewer miles. So those out there, I believe, are the Sierra Mountains. And just yesterday, I think we were somewhere there before we descended down to Sonora Pass Trailhead, somewhere down there. But yeah, those are some pretty cool, nice, jaggedy mountains. And then, I believe, here we are entering possibly the Cascades. Maybe not quite yet the Cascades, or maybe this is still some transition period or something. So still kind of mountainous, but yeah, much less impressive and jaggedy of mountains. I also believe we're currently standing on what's going to be the high point for possibly all of Northern California or something, at like 10.5. So yeah, mostly down from here.
Yesterday we passed mile 1000, so I thought I would record a video on some of the thoughts after we passed that milestone. Me and Jakota were talking about what we thought of the trail so far and what we'd learned from hiking 1,000 miles. For me, when I think about hiking that far, it sounds really challenging, but it's really just about getting up every day and doing the same thing and working towards that bigger goal. And when I think about how far we still have to go and that we're not even halfway yet, it can be rather overwhelming or discouraging. But when I think about, can I hike the rest of the day? Can I get up tomorrow and hike? It still sounds interesting and exciting and easy to do. So while this is a big goal that takes some time, it's really just about getting up every day and working towards it. We both really enjoyed the Sierras, and so that was nice to end that 1,000 miles in them and getting to see that beauty of the high alpine country. And now, as we head onward into Northern California, we're hoping that there will still be mountains and views and a lot more excitement. So we're excited to have passed our first 1,000 and looking forward to the trail ahead and all the unknowns yet to come.
So since we recently passed 1,000 miles, I believe we actually passed 1,000 miles yesterday, or day 51 of our trip, whenever that was, which I think was yesterday, I thought I would take some time and maybe just talk about, I don't know, some of my thoughts and opinions on through hiking and the PCT so far. So I guess we'll start with my thoughts on through hiking. So I in no way regret my decision to do the PCT, and I still really hope I'll be able to complete the whole trail. And I think it's even quite possible, you know, in the months and years to come, I'll look back fondly on this trip. However, that being said, I don't think it's terribly likely I'll continue to do these really long or maybe much of any through hiking in the future. I mean, well, I don't know. I suppose I'm fine with trips that are maybe a few hundred miles long and, I don't know, maybe even take up to like 30 days or something, but I'm not sure if I have much interest in doing trips much longer than that. I'm a person that likes to do a lot of different things and just jump from one thing to another. I mean, I think I probably have more hobbies than the average person and stuff, and that's just because I don't like focusing day after day or on one thing or the same thing. I like to be able to jump from different thing to different thing. So just spending this much time on one task, I don't know, it's I don't know, I guess feels almost restrictive in some ways to me. There's other tasks and things I'd like to jump over to and work on that for a bit and then come back and do some more hiking or something. I also think, especially with trips that are like thousands of miles long, I guess I just feel like large sections of that aren't actually that amazing. I mean, like the 700 miles in the desert. Yes, I mean, it was interesting in the beginning because you're hiking through, at least I was hiking through a terrain I'd never hiked through before and seeing all the different plants and, yeah, just the lizards and everything. Yeah, that was interesting for a while, but I don't know. By the time you walked 700 miles, the newness of it had worn off, and I didn't really feel like I was going someplace that was really that interesting or that had that great of views or was that challenging or anything. So I guess I'd imagine on the longer hikes, especially the multi-thousand mile hikes, that large sections of it I'd consider just not being worth my time.
It's Friday, July 10th. Here I am in camp with my dog Willow. She joined us for a section today and she'll hike tomorrow morning as well. After having 10 to 14 days of a break, we couldn't have her with us because we were hiking through the national parks in the Sierras and they don't allow dogs. So she got what I think is her longest break so far, not being able to hike at all. So it was really fun to have her on trail today. She always really enjoys it. She loves chasing stuff. She loves hiking. There was lots of water today, so she was able to stay cool. And we did go 19 miles today. She did pretty good and kept up with us most of the way. And she'll have to do 12 miles tomorrow before we meet with the cars at a road, and she gets picked up for another couple days off. I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to section hike or through hike with a dog. She had a hard time in the desert, so we weren't able to bring her in a lot of places there. We had a pretty late start date, so if you started early enough and there was enough water sources and it was cooler, a dog probably could do it, but it just really wasn't possible for her this year. We would have had to carry a ton of water and she still would have really struggled in the heat. Dogs do slow you down though. You really have to hike at their pace and not your own. So Jakota and I know that when we have her that we can't do as long days or as fast days. So we were able to get to almost 20 miles today. We started at 10, so it was a later start, and we did get to camp just after 6. So we still got a pretty long day in with a pretty normal camp time, but we did have to take breaks and stop when we wouldn't have if we didn't have her. There was one dry section where we stopped in the shade to let her cool down, and we always spent longer at the streams and let her wait or lay down if she wanted, when otherwise we would have just kept moving and been able to do more miles. The better shape they're in, of course, the better they'll do, and then it depends if your dog is one who can tolerate heat or not. Our dog really can't. She's got a lot of hair and overheats easily, but it's just something to be aware of. The rules of where they can and can't hike, and also that they can probably do less miles or take longer to do those miles. And she is just something else that I have to worry about and think about the whole time I'm hiking. So I have to keep checking, are her feet good? Does she need her boots? If I put her boots on and she wades in streams, are they getting too wet and muddy? Are they going to fall off? Are they rubbing her? So just really watching her feet and her pads. Watching her for other dogs and other hikers. Like today we were passing a camp and their big dog ran out and was totally ignoring them. And I don't know if it ran out because of us or because of her, but just an extra stress being aware of the other people and the other dogs on the trail. Willow does do pretty good. She just ignores other people, and for the most part will ignore the dogs if they ignore her. But with this dog, we were mostly just worried about it getting in her personal space and then her either feeling like she needs to run away from it, or if she can't run, fight it, and getting beaten up because she's too little. And then, does she have enough water? Is she overheating? Can she keep going? So it is an extra thing to think about and does slow down and change your hike. But she's fun to have for the sections. I'm really grateful that she's been able to come and that we have support vehicles so that we can leave her for longer, harder days and still keep up a good average and trail pace. As you can see, she's pretty wiped out. She's very happy to be in camp and to have the tent set up. She did come join us for dinner. So last time she did a 20-mile day, she didn't want to get out of the tent to come eat with us for dinner, but today she came over and hung out with us while we cooked and ate, but is now back to sleep.
Today is Saturday, July 11th. I believe it's the 53rd day of our trip. Uh, Today we walked about 12 or 13 miles with Willow, and then we met the road and we encountered our first trail magic. It was by Limited Situation Trail Magic or something like that, and they gave us these bandanas. They also had a lot of different foods and drinks we could have. Both of us ended up getting bacon cheeseburgers, and they had a fruit salad, which I really enjoyed. I don't know, for whatever reason, hiking really makes me crave fruit, so that fruit salad was quite awesome. They also even had ice cream sandwiches, so that was nice. So, yeah, we spent, I don't know, half an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, I don't know, with Trail Magic, which is very welcome, very nice. I think it was our first trail magic on this trip, and no, it was an awesome experience, and I'm glad we got to experience some trail magic, even in the 2020 COVID. Yeah, definitely added to the trip. After that, we left Willow with the support vehicles, and now we're hoping to hike another 12 miles or so before we camp.
We're hiking along past these interesting rocks. We're not sure what formed them. We've seen a couple at different times today. I think they might be volcanic rock, but we don't know. It's Saturday, June 11th, and I'm here in my tent. We're at camp. We went almost 25 miles today. We had to go about a half mile farther than we planned because we were going to camp by this creek. And then we got there and there was already two different groups of people. Camp was pretty close together and we didn't want to have to join them, and there really wasn't any room left, so we hiked on a bit farther. We were going to go a full mile to a reservoir, but I was worried that when we got there all the sites would be taken. And then I happened to notice this little spot, and we went just a bit farther and there was a creek, so we decided to stay here and actually came back to it. It's a pretty good camp, and it's nice that we have water, which is what we really wanted because we hadn't filtered enough. So earlier today we experienced trail magic for the first time, or at least the first time where there was actually like the person there and cooking hot food. So in the desert we relied a lot on water caches, and sometimes like under the underpasses and stuff there would be like a tote with snacks or an extra cooler with different drinks, so you didn't have just water, and that was always really appreciated and really cool. But today we were hiking out and we knew we were going to cross the road, and we planned to meet up with the cars and leave Willow, because then she already would have done 20 miles yesterday and 12 miles today, and we figured she'd be up for a break. So we're hiking out and we get to the road, and we realize there's not really a pull out. There's a bunch of cars that have like pulled-ish off the road and are parked there, and that one of them is a van that has Trail Magic written on it. So we were like walking over and mostly looking for the van. Like we figured, oh yeah, probably is Trail Magic, but we had already had a plan to meet up, and we knew that they had bought us lunch stuff and were waiting for us. So we were kind of just looking for the car, but then a guy was all like yelling across the road, "Are you guys through hikers?" So then we felt like, okay, we should go over and at least say something to them. So we walk over and he's all like, "We can cook you burgers or put in a pizza." And we could tell that there was no other hikers around. So we were about a half hour earlier than we said we would meet the van. So while we figured the van wasn't going to know to pull off right there by the highway, because there was nothing indicating that it was a trailhead or the PCT, we figured, oh, well, we'll just stop, talk to these guys for a bit, and then worry about finding the van in like half an hour. So we did. We told them we'd take burgers, and so we hung out for like 30-45 minutes. After about half an hour, we had just finished our food, and we were kind of like, so what's up the road and what's down the road? And then we mentioned, we're trying to meet up with a car because of our dog. And so one guy said he'd go hike up the road because just a little bit up the hill there is a better pullout. And then the other guy said he'd go down the hill because just down the hill is a trailhead that has a sign saying PCT trailhead or parking or something like that. And we didn't know if the car had gone past the site or down below. So that was really cool of them to each volunteer to scout out a different side of the road so that we didn't have to like pick one and hope we got lucky.
And so the guy going down the road did find our mom and told her we were up there enjoying trail magic, so she came on up, and then we actually did end up going back down to that parking lot and hanging out with her for like another hour and eating even more because hiker hunger is real. So this is going to be a continuation of my video on what it was to hike 1,000 miles. So you can't hike the PCT or a trail this long and not have bad days. So while we're having a good time and we're having more good days than bad days, we have had some bad days. And there's days when the miles just go by and the day flies by and you've done tons of miles and it feels easy and you feel great. And then there's days when the miles just seem to take forever and the day is dragging by, and no matter how pretty it is, all you can think about is your feet hurt, or it's so hot, or your pack hurts, or just something hurts. There's a lot of things out here that can hurt when you walk this many miles. And so it's just like, and you're just like, ugh, this day's taken forever, and all I want to do is get to camp. And so we've both had those days. Luckily, we rarely have them on the same day, but a couple days ago, we both just were like, ugh, this day. But I heard hiker advice very early on saying never quit on a bad day. And while a lot of times it would be impossible to quit on a bad day because we're in the middle of nowhere and we'd have to hike to the nearest road anyway, it's always good to know that good chances are, even if if you're having a rough day, that the next day is gonna be better.